Welcome back to the deep dive. I think for a lot of us, nature just holds this special significance. Maybe it's remembering a school trip, like Pahili and Bucho exploring with Professor Ahmad. Some of us might recall that. Or maybe you've seen pictures from places like Kaziranga or the Great Nicobar Biosphere Reserve, just incredible places. Today, we're really diving into something vital, the whole story around conservation of plants and animals.
Exactly. And our mission here is, well, to understand the big threats facing all this amazing diversity on our planet. But more than that, we want to explore the really clever ways people are working to protect it all. We're pulling out the key insights from our sources for you.
Okay, so expert looking at the sources, it seems like one huge challenge just jumps out again and again. Deforestation. Can you sort of break down what that really means and what the main drivers are according to what we've read?
Absolutely. So deforestation, at its heart, it's not just, losing trees. It's fundamentally changing the land, clearing forests, and then using that space for something completely different. Our sources point pretty clearly to the main human causes,
Yep.
needing land for farming, building homes and factories, obviously, and then just using the wood itself for furniture or even just fuel.
But it's not always us, is it? I think the sources mention natural causes too.
That's a good point, yes. While humans are, the main factor, natural events play a part too. Things like big forest fires or those really severe droughts, they can wipe out huge areas of forest as well.
And the immediate effects are pretty sobering, aren't they? Like Paheli and Bucho noticed it straight away. Higher temperatures, more pollution, and that drop in the groundwater level. It hits the local environment fast.
Right. And if you zoom out, the impacts get even bigger, affecting like global systems. Fewer trees mean less CO2 gets soaked up for photosynthesis. Simple as that. So you
Yeah.
get more CO2 in the atmosphere, and that traps heat, leading to global warming. This then messes with the whole water cycle. You might get less rain, which increases the risk of drought.
Wow. And what about the ground itself? You mentioned soil.
Yes, that's another critical piece. Deforestation really changes the soil's properties. It leads to much more soil erosion. That top fertile layer washes away, and you're left with the lower, harder, rocky stuff. Much less humus, not very fertile. And this whole process where good land slowly turns into desert, it's actually got a name, desertification.
Desertification.
It keeps going. Less forest cover means the soil can't hold as much water, and water doesn't soak into the ground as easily. That's the infiltration rate. So water runs off the surface more, which, leads to floods. Plus, other things change too, like the nutrients in the soil, its texture.
Ah.
It's all connected.
These are really stark consequences. It really makes you think about those questions from the sources, like, will we run out of things we get from forests if this keeps up? And maybe even more pressing, how does all this affect the animals living there? It's clear we need some solutions. Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting, right? Given how bad deforestation is, what are the main ways we're actually trying to conserve forests and wildlife?
Right. This brings us to the idea of protected areas. Think wildlife sanctuaries, national parks, biosphere reserves. These places are specifically set aside, earmarked, you could say, to protect the plants, the animals, and importantly, their habitats. And there are strict rules inside them. Usually no planting crops, no grazing animals, no cutting trees, definitely no hunting or poaching. It's about creating a safe haven.
Let's maybe break those down a bit, because they sound similar, but they're different, aren't they? First, wildlife sanctuaries.
Okay, yeah. So a sanctuary is mainly focused on protecting animals from any kind of disturbance, both to them and where they live. What's interesting, as you've hinted, is that sometimes people living inside these areas are allowed certain activities, like uh, grazing their cattle or collecting medicinal plants, maybe firewood. It's not always a complete exclusion zone.
Ah, okay. So it's different from a zoo, obviously, because
Yeah.
they're in their natural habitat, which must be better for them.
Much better, yes. And the sources mention some of the threatened animals found in these sanctuaries: black buck, elephants, golden cat, gharial crocodiles, pythons, rhinos. Quite a list.
And they have national parks. How are they different?
National parks are generally larger areas. They're reserved for wildlife too, but the idea is they can freely use the habitats and the natural resources there. They're often big enough and diverse enough to protect whole ecosystems. Not just the animals and plants, but landscapes, even historical sites sometimes.
Like Satpura National Park. That one came up in the sources.
Exactly. Satpura is a great example. It's actually the first reserve forest in India, which is pretty significant, and it's known for having some of the finest Indian teak.
Wow. And didn't they find ancient paintings there too?
Yes. That was fascinating. Inside Satpura, they found 55 rock shelters with prehistoric rock paintings. Just amazing.
Incredible. And speaking of big animals, Project Tiger came up too.
Right. That's a really important government initiative specifically focused on tiger conservation, making sure the tiger population survives and thrives. And Satpura Tiger Reserve, which is part of the larger park area, is actually noted for a significant increase in its tiger numbers, which is great news. It's also kind of sobering to think that animals like lions, elephants, wild buffaloes, barras, and they used to be found there too. Shows how things change.
Okay, and the third type, the really big ones, biosphere reserves.
Biosphere reserves, yeah. These are generally vast areas. The goal is conservation on large-scale wildlife, plants, animal resources. But critically, they also aim to conserve the traditional life of the tribal communities living within the area. That's a key distinction.
So it's about biodiversity and culture.
Exactly. Maintaining both. And these reserves can actually contain other protected areas inside them, like the Pachmari Biosphere Reserve example from our sources. It includes Satpura National Park and 2 wildlife sanctuaries, Bori and Pachmari.
And Pachmari has that unique mix of species, right? Like Himalayan and Western Ghats types.
That's right. It's got this incredible biodiversity, plants and animals that are similar to ones found way up in the Himalayas and also down in the Western Ghats. Really unique overlap.
Okay, to really get a handle on this, and maybe we should clarify a few terms that kept coming up, like biodiversity.
Good idea. So biodiversity isn't just a list of species. It's the sheer variety of life on Earth, all the plants, animals, microorganisms, but it also includes how they all interact with each other and how they relate to their environment. It's the whole web.
Got it. And flora and fauna, that's simpler, right?
Yeah, that's basically just the plants, flora, and animals, fauna typically found in a specific area. So for Pachmarhi, the sources mentioned flora like sal, teak, mango, jamun trees, silver ferns, and fauna like chinkara deer, blue bull antelope, leopards, wild dogs, wolves, the animals living there.
Okay. And then there was endemic species. That seemed really important.
Critically important, yes. Endemic species are those plants or animals found only in one particular geographic area and nowhere else naturally in the world.
Exclusively there.
Exclusively, they're completely unique to that location. Pachmari, for example, has endemic species like wild mango and sal trees, and endemic animals like the giant squirrel, the Indian bison, and the flying squirrel. You won't find them naturally anywhere else.
Right. And that exclusivity, that's what makes them so vulnerable, isn't it? What are the main threats to them specifically?
Precisely. Their world is literally that one specific place. So the biggest threats our sources point to are, first, destruction of that unique habitat. If it goes, they go. Second, the pressure from increasing human populations encroaching on their limited space. And third, introducing new species, non-native ones, that might compete with them for food or resources or even prey on them.
It really highlights their precarious position. And maybe just quickly, what defines a species itself?
Ah, yes. Technically, a species is a group of living organisms, populations actually, that can breed with each other and produce fertile offspring. They belong to the same reproductive group.
Okay. And related to vulnerability, you also mentioned endangered animals.
Right. These are animals whose populations have dropped so low, their numbers are so diminished, that they are facing a very real risk of extinction. Gone forever.
And here's something from the sources that really stood out to me and often gets missed. It's often the small animals that are in much greater danger of extinction than the big charismatic ones.
Really? Like what kind of animals?
Think snakes, frogs, lizards, bats, even owls. We might overlook them, but their numbers can plummet drastically.
Yeah.
And they play such a vital role in the ecosystem, in the food chains and food webs. Their disappearance has huge knock-on effects.
That's a crucial point. And when we say ecosystem, what does that encompass exactly?
An ecosystem is basically everything in a given area.
Yeah.
All the living things, plants, animals, microbes, interacting with each other and with the non-living components. So that includes things like the climate, the soil, rivers, deltas, the whole environment.
And to keep track of all these endangered species, there's that book, the Red Data Book. Yes, the Red Data Book. It's essentially the official comprehensive list or source book that keeps records of all endangered animals and plants. It's maintained internationally, but countries like India also maintain their own specific red data books for the species found within their borders. It's a vital tool for conservationists.
Okay. Switching gears slightly, the sources also mentioned migration. That amazing journey birds take.
Ah, yes, migration. It's this incredible natural phenomenon where birds usually fly really long distances every year. It's mainly triggered by climate changes. They often fly to specific areas to lay their eggs because maybe their usual home gets too cold or inhospitable for breeding successfully.
Amazing. So bringing this all back home, what can we, regular people actually do
Mm.
beyond these big protected areas? What practical steps came up?
Well, the sources highlight a couple of really tangible things. First, something quite impactful, recycling paper.
Right, because making paper uses so many trees.
An incredible number. The sources state it takes 17 fully grown trees to produce just 1 ton of paper. Just think about that.
Wow.
The good news is that paper can be recycled quite a few times, maybe 5 to 7 times. And doing that doesn't just save trees, it also saves a lot of energy and water that would be needed to make new paper from scratch. Plus, it reduces the use of harmful chemicals in the manufacturing process. So it's a win-win-win.
Definitely sounds worth doing. What else?
The other big one is reforestation, which is pretty much what it sounds like. Restocking forests that have been destroyed by planting new trees.
Putting the trees back.
Exactly.
Mm.
Ideally, you'd plant the same species of trees that were originally there to restore the natural ecosystem. Interestingly, the sources note that sometimes if you just leave a deforested area alone, undisturbed, natural reforestation can happen on its own over time.
Nature finds a way.
Sometimes, yes.
Yeah.
But actively planting more trees is clearly vital if we want to keep our green wealth, as the sources put it, for future generations.
And there's a law in India about this too, right? The Forest Conservation Act.
Yes, the Forest Conservation Act. It's a key piece of legislation aimed at preserving India's natural forests. And importantly, it also tries to address the basic needs of people living in or near those forests, trying to balance conservation with, human needs.
It's such a complex balance.
Yeah.
And just before we finish, there were some really striking facts in the sources about India's role globally.
Oh, absolutely. Some incredible statistics. Like, India is home to more than half of the world's wild tigers.
Okay.
And 65% of all Asian elephants, 85% of the great one-horned rhinos, and incredibly 100% all of the world's wild Asiatic lions.
That's a huge responsibility.
It really is. And it doesn't stop there. India is ranked 6th among the world's 12 mega biodiversity countries, and it contains 2 of the planet's 34 designated biodiversity hotspots, the Eastern Himalayas and the Western Ghats.
So globally significant areas.
Hugely significant, and India has 172 animal species that are considered globally threatened. That's nearly 3% of the world's total, including some really rare ones like the Bengal fox, the marbled cat, the Asiatic lion, of course, the Indian rhino.
It just underlines everything we've been saying about how crucial habitat protection is, doesn't it? That threat of encroachment seems central.
It really does. I mean, what we've covered today truly shows this intricate web of life, doesn't it?
Right.
And the scale of the challenges, deforestation, the quiet crisis facing smaller animals, but also the importance of the solutions, like protected areas and making sustainable choices in our own lives. Understanding all this feels absolutely critical for everyone's future.
Absolutely. So thinking about everything we've unpacked today, the impacts of clearing forests, all these different ways we're trying to protect what's left, leaves me wondering, and maybe you listening too, what alternatives do you think we really need to explore more seriously? For things we rely on, like wood and paper, to make sure our planet can genuinely thrive, not just survive, for the generations still to come.